Roast chicken. Often people will think rotisserie chicken that you get from the supermarket, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think making roast chicken from scratch at home is a great benchmark to set for yourself if you're looking to take your cooking to the next level. And today, we're reacting to a great example of that by Adam Ragusea.
Yes.
Oh. Also putting in a bunch of butter,
there
too.
you go,
Just
mon
cover it up
ami.
and let the butter melt.
This is home cooking to perfection. Like, this is how I cook at home.
I do 4 cups of frozen.
Before I go on with today's episode, I do want to give a special shout out to my amazing new patron, Flip Flarp. Thank you so much for your support. And with that said, on to the reaction. You remember Adam Ragusea, right?
He did the chicken cacciatore.
Yes.
Poulet chasseur.
And people really liked that we reacted to some Adam Ragusea. So I decided, let's react to some more Adam Ragusea.
Remind me, he's not a chef, or is he?
He is not a chef.
He's just like a...
But to me, he's like YouTube's Alton Brown.
He can focus on technique.
Yeah. And, who doesn't like a good roast chicken with some mashed potatoes?
Oh, I love these.
Let's watch. Adam Ragusea's roast chicken.
Roast chicken with mashed potatoes, peas, and gravy.
Oh my. I was going, ooh, for the red potato mash, and then you put the peas on there.
It's
Okay, they're on the side. I can push them off.
Time.
Okay. Look at that. Who would not want to eat the shit out of that plate right there?
The peas. It's just like a reoccurring theme. I never knew that there was so many peas on this planet. Everything, there's peas everywhere.
You know what's funny is I remember watching this video and I was like, oh, we should definitely do this video. And then when I pulled it up on the thumbnail was this big mound of green peas.
And I think I've got it
do
down
like
to a science.
the red potato
Red
mash.
bliss mash, yeah.
I love that.
Which, in culinary school, they'll tell you,
Yukon Golds.
Yukon Gold. Well, no, that you'll want to use a chef potato for mashed potato, something that's a drier potato, something like Red Bliss, Yukon Golds. These are often referred to as waxy potatoes.
Yeah, they'll stay wet.
Yeah, they'll stay wet. They have a different texture. They'll often say these are better suited for things like potato salad, which it is incredible for potato salad, but there's nothing stopping you from going back and forth. The mashed potatoes at Beauty and Essex used Yukon Gold. It's a different texture, yeah.
Roast my chicken in a slightly unconventional way
Spatchcocked?
that, among other benefits, results in
spatchcock it, or is it
especially
just
good gravy.
What's spatchcock it?
Cut out the spine and then you open up.
Oh, no. He just put it appears he just put the whole thing in there. Yeah, let's keep watching.
In a 10-inch skillet, I put a little olive oil and then an approximately 4-pound chicken. You don't have to do this, but I like scoring the legs. 3 cuts straight down to the bone. This makes for really thoroughly cooked, fall-apart, crispy drumsticks. Then I grind on a ton of pepper, enough for both the top and the bottom of the chicken. Same with the salt, enough for the whole chicken.
Okay,
Then
listen,
I
it's not a
smoosh
pretty
all
look,
the oil and
right,
the seasoning around
to
the
cut into
entire
it,
chicken right there inside the
but
pan.
your legs now will cook at the same time as your breast.
Right. Because the breast, the legs always take longer to cook through. That's for sure. There's just more mass. There's also more blood in there. There's more bone in there.
Would you have added some clarified butter at the very beginning, or would you going to add it later on?
Oh, at the very beginning. But you can just tell already that he is making this from the perspective of a home cook. One pan cooking.
Right.
He's seasoning in that same pan. He's going to cook in that same pan. He cut the chicken in that same pan. It's just meant to...
Cut the chicken. Oh, I mean the legs.
Yeah, the legs. Yeah, he cut the chicken in that same pan. I think he's just
Okay, vámonos, muchacho.
He's simplifying the process for the home cook. Piece of...
Andale.
If I've got it around, I'll stick a piece of lemon, a shallot, and maybe some herbs inside. And look, because I did all that right inside the pan, I only have to wash my hands once in the entire prep of this chicken. Now here's my big trick. Turn the heat on medium under that skillet. While the oven preheats to 400 Fahrenheit, I just cook the bottom of the chicken on the stovetop for like a good 15 minutes. I honestly don't know why everyone doesn't do this. This solves the problem.
Why do you say that good for you?
You are cutting down, well, you're saving time.
Yes,
right?
100%.
As the oven is heating up, you can already sear that bottom, which is going to create a little bit of protection in the oven when you're going to be roasting throughout the cooking time.
Why does it create protection?
Because you're creating the surface of the bottom of the chicken, and it basically creating a non-stick situation.
Oh, okay. Right. Yeah, well, that's actually very true. When you let something gradually heat up over a long period of time, there's a greater chance of it sticking. That's for sure. Another reason why this is great that he's doing it on the backside of the chicken. Granted, the wings will overcook this way, but the backside is where the spine is. There's barely any meat, but also the thighs are touching down, which we all know thigh meat has a very high threshold when it comes to cooking it. You can quote unquote overcook it a lot and it'll still be moist and juicy.
Yeah, and you can overcook those wings. Nobody cares about that. They'll still be
the
good.
white meat always being done before the dark meat is. The dark meat, the thighs, those are on the bottom, getting blasted with heat right now. Also, near the bottom is the super thick part of the breast that's always lagging behind the rest of the white meat when you roast normally. Basically, I leave it on here until it smells like the bottom is about to start
White meat
burning.
always be
Then I
lagging.
just throw it in the oven. The convection setting is great for roasting chicken if you have it. Once that's in, I can work on the potatoes. I start with about a pound of red potatoes. The skins taste good and look pretty, so there's no reason to take them off. I just cut them into some smaller pieces that'll boil quicker.
Now notice he's doing this on top of the stove, and he doesn't have anything under that cutting board to hold it snug.
It's dangerous.
This is also the very early days of his channel, and
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure clearly, it's one of his earliest videos. And I'm sure he's learned a lot since then. But one thing I would recommend in this scenario is you put like a wet, damp towel underneath that cutting board so it doesn't slide around so much.
I think he's worked with what he has, and he just wants a shot for the camera.
Yeah, he probably,
So let's not gripe about
No,
this.
no,
too
I'm
much.
not. I'm not griping on him. Like, I understand the why of how he's doing this. I'm just
telling
saying,
the viewers not to do this.
Yes.
That's it.
Then I do one big russet potato.
Ooh,
I like the
that's a
texture
nice
and
touch.
flavor combination of the two kinds of potatoes together. But russet skins are gross in mashed potatoes. Baked or roasted, those...
Why have I not thought of mixing potatoes?
You know what? Same here. I have never thought of mixing the two potatoes.
What the
This is why it is so cool to watch these videos. As trained professional chefs, you and I were always taught one potato or the other potato, but how often? Like, he's not.
That makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense. You get the best of both worlds.
It does.
Does anyone else in the
Damn it.
let us know, right? Like, we're griping on. I'm griping on him about the cutting board thing, and then he's like blowing our minds with just using two different potatoes. With that said, let us know in the comments section if you've ever mixed potato types for your mashed potatoes. And you know what else the audience should be doing, Frenchie?
Subscribing and push that notification thing.
Yeah.
That thing-a-ding.
Yes.
What is it?
Thingamadingy.
Whatchamabob.
Yeah, whatchamabob. Yes.
Whatchamacallit.
And you know what else the audience doesn't know about?
What?
New merch drop! Remember on the podcast, our first ever Feasty Boy segment, we went to a restaurant called Han Song Ting. And the entire time, you thought I was calling you Handsome Thing.
Yes, I remember. We're wearing the f***ing t-shirts, aren't we?
Well, I had the design made. You loved it. And guess what? They have the B-roll. You don't have to shove it in their faces.
I was being practical.
And guess what, Frenchie? The Handsome Thing tees are now available for pre-order. Link in the description below. But why, Frenchie? What is the why should they be pre-ordering now? Because what happens if they don't pre-order?
Limited production, baby.
Yes, there you go. Once they are gone,
They're gone.
They're gone forever.
So can I put a special request into my 10%?
The 10% club.
Hop on it. Wait, that doesn't sound right. Or does it?
Visit the link in the description below and pre-order your Handsome Thing tee today.
Cut it into a little bigger pieces than the red potatoes because the russet cooks quicker and I want them to be done at the same time. Fill up the
Love
pot
that
with
attention
water,
to
and while
detail.
it comes to a boil, I peel and chop a ton of garlic. I've tried all kinds of flavorings inside mashed potatoes. I've found nothing that beats garlic. Chicken's been in for about a half hour at this point, so I'm going to check it. White meat is at 120 Fahrenheit, 40 degrees left to go. At this point, I put some garlic powder on the breast. That tends to burn a bit if I put it on right at the beginning. I also usually up the temperature a bit for this last stretch just to brown the skin. The potatoes are done when you can really easily push a fork through them. I'll go dump those in a colander in the sink. And then in the same pot, I'll melt some butter and then fry the garlic until it just starts to go golden.
Love that. He is being so efficient with his time, with his cleaning, with his use of equipment.
And he's explaining it.
And he's explaining it so well. He is explaining it better than some chefs have explained it to me. This is awesome.
Half a cup of milk and let that heat up.
Yes. Oh, yes. Such good attention to detail. Why do you always heat up the dairy when you make mashed potatoes?
You want to bring it past its boiling point.
Right.
Right? So it doesn't, well, it has more body to it.
Yeah.
And it'll be more durable.
Also, you don't want to add hot into cold or cold into hot. You want to have everything.
Oh yeah, of course.
Everything, all the flavors, all the textures will glue together a lot more coherently if you bring your dairy to at least a warm temperature. But I do agree, bring it.
Yeah, you see, I didn't even think of that because it's so automatic to do that.
Yeah.
Thank you for explaining this.
Yes. You see, people like my explanations sometimes.
Cover this up and pull it off the heat for now. After about 45 minutes in the oven, this chicken is done. I like to pull it when the white meat is 160 Fahrenheit. The internal temp will probably rise to 165 as it rests. 165 is what you're supposed to hit for safety reasons. If you need to be extra cautious, maybe cook it a few degrees more than I did here. Look at that even color you get with convection heat. All right, to make...
I was going to pause and say he pulled it out because it's going to carry over cooked. He pulled it out at 160 degrees because it's going to carry over. And he covered it all. Covered it all. And awesome.
I even like that green plate.
We got to get the chicken out of there. I
it's
rest
gonna
it on a
gravy
plate
with the
rather than a cutting
drippings.
board. You'll see why in a sec. Now check this out. Pre-cooking the bottom of the chicken
So
on the
chicken's
stovetop
resting,
also
the
gives
mash is on its way.
Yeah.
And now he's going to make his gravy.
Gravy. And you did you hear him just now? This is the reason why he starts it on the stovetop first, is to really get the fond on that pan.
this incredible layer of fond with which to make gravy. Also, roasting at such a high temperature means that most of the juice that came out will have evaporated. So there's no need to run this through a gravy separator. That is basically straight fat with which we can make roux to make our gravy.
Yes.
What's
You
a
could
gravy
use it all,
separator?
but
He said you no need to run this through a gravy separator. I have no
strainer.
idea. Strainer?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh.
you could use it all, but that would make way more gravy than I usually need for this meal. So I pour off like half.
Yes!
Oh!
Yes! I was going to say he should do that.
It'll taste amazing in there.
I was
I'm
going to
basically
say, you know what he
using
should
it
do?
in
He
place
should
of
put some of it in the potatoes. And he did it!
butter you'd normally put
I
in,
wish I
but
said
that's
it
not
out
gonna stop me
loud.
from also putting in a bunch
Oh,
of butter
there
too.
you go,
I'll just
mon
cover it up
ami.
and let the butter melt.
I always put the butter in with the dairy and let it all melt and get hot together. That's how I do it. He is melting it first before he's mashing it, so same principle, but
It depends. Because we do the mashed potato in the mixer. So sometimes I like to just throw it in at the very end. So it creates a whipping effect with the mixer. So it gives it a nice consistency.
and I love your mashed potatoes.
Yes, you do.
Turn the heat on medium under this pan, and when it's sizzling, I'll whisk in just enough flour to make a thick paste. And cook that
Nice.
for a minute until I smell the flour going nutty. Then you could just put in water or cartoned stock, but yeah, I like to start with a little white wine for sweet.
Yes!
Whisk that in, and then whisk in some water too. And the color at first will not be appetizing. Just give it some time. As you simmer this for 5 or 10 minutes, the little brown bits floating around in there will dissolve and impart their color to the rest of the gravy. Here's the shallot from inside the chicken. You could throw that in to flavor the gravy a little bit, or you could cut it up into little bits and throw those in.
Perfect.
Here's the lemon from inside the chicken.
Yes.
If you don't like
Wow.
lemony gravy, don't squeeze this in, but sometimes I like it.
Notice he let the seed go in there and all. This is home cooking to perfection. Like, this is how I cook at home.
Yeah.
This is not.
You'll spit it out.
Yeah.
Here's why I
not
rest
worried
the
about
chicken on a plate. A plate is really good at collecting all the juices that come out of the bird as it rests, and it makes it really easy
Nothing
to pour
goes
those
to
back
waste.
into the gravy where they belong. All right, potatoes. I'll grind in a ton of pepper and some in the gravy while I'm at it, and then start with one big pinch of salt in the potatoes, then mash. I'm conservative with the milk up front so that if the texture is too stiff, I can just add a little more milk
Very
at
good.
this stage. You can't
Because,
take it away.
you can always add, it's hard to take it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's not hard. It's impossible to take it out.
Yeah.
Mashers are not good at mixing, so when it's all mashed up, I'll switch to a rubber spatula to get everything evenly integrated, and then I can test for seasoning.
There's something to be said
Then I'll
about rough mashed potatoes too. Those, because mine is perfectly smooth, right?
Yeah.
But this, I like this. I like this.
Yeah, your potatoes are the very traditional, through the food mill, very soft, very classic French. This is home style, and they're both absolutely amazing. Yours is looked upon more as the classical way, the more proper way, but you and I would eat the shit out of those potatoes.
I'll tell you a little secret, because we make bigger batches of mashed potato, right? So what happens when you're keeping it in the bain-marie?
What?
Water evaporates.
Oh, right. Yes.
Even though, so do you add water?
No.
What do you add now to make it smooth again?
More cream?
More butter! More butter! You know when it's getting too thick?
Yeah.
It's like, it's time to. So there's something to be said about eating the mashed potatoes at the end of the night. Because there's that much more butter in it.
Cover it and leave it on the warm setting. Gravy is looking perfect at this stage, which means it's actually too thick because it'll thicken up a lot as it cools.
Wow, look at that.
So I'll put in a little more water and hey, more juice has come out of the chicken.
What is he worried about it cooling?
Because right now it's perfect. By the time he plates the dish together, it's going to be too thick. Okay. Again, attention to detail.
Peas. I do 4 cups of frozen peas in a microwave-safe jar. If you can get high-quality fresh peas, great, but I usually can't. I just cover those in water and toss them in the microwave for a few minutes. That's just enough time to carve the chicken. First thing I do is tear the leg quarters off with my hands. They are so well cooked with this method that they just pull right off, like those grocery store rotisserie chickens. Then I cut the legs off the thighs.
You see,
rather than slicing the white meat...
To the amateurs, when they see that blood, they'll be like, oh no, it's not cooked enough.
Yeah.
It's perfectly cooked.
Yeah.
It's cooked. Don't worry about that, because an amateur will see that, it's like, oh, it's not done, I'll put it back in now. That chicken is overdone.
Now, there's a difference between it being bloody and spewing out blood versus it being a little pink in the bone area.
Yeah.
That's actually very normal. If you took a piece of chicken leg and cooked it to exactly 165 degrees and cut it open immediately, you will see it's very pink.
Yeah.
Off the bird, I like to cut each breast off whole. This is easier and you get a cleaner cut if you remove the wishbone before roasting, but honestly, that's kind of tricky, and these days I don't think it's really worth it. Then I just tear off whatever bits are still clinging to the carcass with my hands.
There's a way
That'll be perfect for chicken
There are
pot
knife
pie
skills
later.
that I would have done a much better job. But listen, practice makes perfect, right?
Ooh, there's the oyster. Mine. Take the breast, cut off the wing, also mine. Then with the breast off, it's really easy to slice it up however you want it. It also makes it possible to slice against the grain like this, though that doesn't really matter with chicken like it does with steak.
No,
when
it
the water
does.
in the peas is boiling, you're good to strain them. Then I put in a little butter and some salt and stir it around to let the butter melt. Now, real quick, I'm just going to warm my plates in the residual heat of the oven. Just takes a minute. Those plates will actually reheat this chicken if it's gone cold while we rested and carved it. Plus these sides, that's easily enough chicken for 4 adults. I think the gravy is mostly for the potatoes, though I do like a little bit on the white meat too. Not that it needs it. Pre-cooking the dark meat lets you cook that breast until it is just done, so it is really juicy. And check out this thigh. It pulls apart like barbecue. This right here is why I think peas are the best vegetable for this. They hitchhike on a forkful of mashed potatoes. Oh, remember those scored legs? Look at all that extra surface area. It's so well browned, it's so well seasoned. It also pulls apart like barbecue because the scoring allows...
So that pinkness is what we're talking about. If you see that type of pinkness, you are good. If you are seeing the red glow of Jack's chicken, that is no good. This is no good.
Yeah, but also look at his fingers and everything.
Yeah.
The camera's adding to that. In reality, it's not that red.
I love those. Let's see if I can get one fork with all 4 elements on it at once. Yes! That sticky mash literally brings the whole dish together.
I'm avoiding
Look how glossy that gravy is.
peas.
That's from the chicken fat in the roux. It's a bit of work, but that is just a totally killer Sunday supper. Now, you may be thinking, what about that technique where you roast the chicken breast side down for the first half? Won't that achieve the same goal of giving the dark meat the head start that it needs?
I'm going to say that my favorite roast chicken is chicken under a brick. You know when you cut out the spine, you spatchcock? What is that? How do I say that word again?
Spatchcock?
Spatchcock, right? Yeah. And you put that weight on it, and then you cook it that way. I think that's my favorite because you're cooking it very fast. So you're keeping as much moisture in that chicken as
I
possible.
love brick pressed chicken. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and why a brick? I literally used a brick.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, why?
Because they're heat tempered. You can put them in the broiler and they retain their heat.
Yes. I like these.
They heat up very quickly and they cool off very quickly too.
But, a lot of people don't know we have a podcast. And a lot of our viewers actually don't know about it. Can you tell them about our podcast?
Tell them about the podcast?
So You Want to Get Fat podcast.
As Blondie would say, come get fat with me.
We talk about a lot more than just food. We give you a behind the scenes look at restaurants, but we also cover current events.
It's a work in progress.
It is a work in progress, and it'll always be a work in progress like you and I are. And
come on, we need to make So You Want to Get Fat the brilliant idea that it is big. Please share. Everybody needs to partake on this. We want everybody to get fat. Not size-wise, just...
So come join us. We'll see you there. Stay fat, everybody. Before we close out this episode, I do want to say thank you to all of my amazing patrons. Guys, thank you so much for your support. And remember, for the rest of you, by becoming a patron, you get to take advantage of some awesome perks like early access to new episodes, uncensored extended versions of certain episodes, and most importantly, patron exclusive content. Did you enjoy this episode, buddy?
Yeah.
Yeah, even with the peas?
Yeah.
All right. Hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as we did making it. Remember, don't be afraid to fail because it can only make you stronger. With that said, I'm Chef Brian Tsao, not your typical chef.
Subscribe, notify, podcast. Look at our podcast.
Frenchy.
Frenchy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bye.
Find a silent void and stay